Spoiler alert, before we dive into the deeper meanings behind Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, if you're unfamiliar with the story, be sure to check out my previous video where I recount the entire tale in case you don't want the story to be spoiled for you in this video. Now with that said, let's start. Sir Gawain's journey wasn't just about a knight taking on a challenge. It was a story packed with hidden meanings and layers of interpretation. It was actually a profound exploration of human nature, psychology, and even religious tension. What does his encounter with the Green Knight truly represent, and why does this medieval legend still remain relevant and resonate with us today? One of the clearest interpretations is the conflict between man and nature. The Green Knight, with his striking green appearance and mystical abilities, represents the raw power of the natural world. Something that human civilization, which in the story is embodied by Camelot, often tries to dominate, subdue, or control. Obviously, Camelot is a castle, with its thick walls protecting humans from the threats on the outside. And that thought brings us to the idea that back in the medieval era, when this tale first emerged, people saw nature very differently than we do today. While we now see nature as beautiful and precious, medieval society saw it as dangerous, hostile, and unpredictable, a force that brought exposure, threats, and insecurity. Deep, tangled forests weren't just home to wild animals, but were believed to harbor witches, magic, and all kinds of supernatural dangers. To help explain this interpretation, let's use something familiar: lawn mowing, namely. Picture the Green Knight as the lawn, and Gawain as the lawnmower. Who wins that battle? At first, it seems like the lawnmower will prevail, but as we all know, the grass always grows back. Just like the Green Knight's head. This shows us that no matter what we do, us humans can never truly conquer nature. Nature is timeless and constantly renewing itself, while our lives, like Gawain's, are fleeting and temporary in comparison. And in the end, nature is the one who will prevail. Next up is my personally favorite interpretation, as it's the one which resonates with me the most, and I immediately spotted it myself once I read the story. Let's break this down in more detail. Starting with a key concept that you need to know: the archetype. An archetype in Jungian psychology refers to universal symbols or patterns that emerge across cultures and stories. These archetypes, according to Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, are part of the collective unconscious. You can imagine it as a layer of the human mind that holds shared memories and experiences from all of humanity. Essentially, something that connects us all across generations as humans. It's something that all of us have, regardless of our race, country, of origins, or our beliefs or religion, etc. It's something that we all share, something that makes us human. Now, Carl Jung is one of the most influential figures in psychology, particularly known for his ideas about the psyche and how we navigate life through these deep unconscious forces. He believed that humans have a set of innate symbols and themes, and he called them archetypes. That these shape our thoughts, behaviors, and stories. And one of Jung's key ideas is the concept of the shadow. The shadow represents the part of ourselves that we prefer to keep hidden, our flaws, fears, weaknesses, and impulses. It's the dark, unconscious side of our personality. Facing the shadow is a necessary step in personal growth because only by confronting and integrating it can we become whole and self-aware. By the way, not all humans do it throughout their lifetime as they should, because it's a very difficult, lengthy, and demanding process in which you're essentially battling your own soul, yourself. Now, with this context, let's dive into Sir Gawain's journey through a Jungian lens. His adventure is a classic hero's journey, an archetype in which the hero ventures out of their comfort zone, Camelot in this case, into the unknown, facing challenges that ultimately lead to transformation and growth. Gawain's trials, especially his encounter with the Green Knight, force him to confront his shadow. The shadow, in Gawain's case, is his fear of death, his pride, and his desire to appear honorable at all costs, even if it means deceiving himself and others, like when he hides the magical girdle. So Gawain's journey becomes a psychological battle inside his head. He's not just fighting external forces, but the internal ones, the parts of himself he would rather not see or acknowledge. The Green Knight is almost like a manifestation of his shadow, forcing Gawain to face the truths he's been avoiding. By the end, Gawain is not the same man who left Camelot. He returns with a deeper understanding of his own flaws, a key aspect of Jung's idea of individuation, or becoming whole by integrating all parts of the self. This Jungian interpretation gives the tale a rich psychological dimension. It's not just a medieval story about knights and honor, but a timeless exploration of the human psyche and the struggle we all face in confronting our inner darkness. And mind you, unfortunately, not everyone wins this battle with their inner darkness. Some just succumb to it, and it takes over their autonomy, and they manifest their dark side within as it has won and taken control over them. A prime example of this is, for instance, Nazi Germany. But that's perhaps a story for another video. So ultimately, the Green Knight can be seen as Gawain's shadow, challenging him to face his own flaws and vulnerabilities. By accepting the girdle and concealing it, Gawain succumbs to his fear of death, an essential part of his shadow self. The Green Chapel, where Gawain faces the final test, represents a moment of psychological integration, where Gawain accepts his imperfections, emerging wiser and more self-aware. And this brings me to Jung's quote I'd like to share with you. The greatest and most important problems of life are all in a certain sense insoluble. They must be so, because they express the necessary polarity inherent in every self-regulating system. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. Another key theme is the tension between Christian and pagan values. Camelot, a bastion of Christian ideals, stands in stark contrast to the Green Knight, who embodies pagan nature, worship, and mystical powers. Gawain's adherence to the Christian code of chivalry is tested by the Green Knight, who represents the natural and supernatural elements often associated with paganism. Gawain's struggle to uphold Christian values in the face of these older, wilder forces raises questions about the compatibility of faith with the untamed world. Is the knightly code truly universal, or is it an ideal that falls short when nature is involved? In Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, the conflict between Christianity and paganism is very prominent. It is visible in various elements of the story. You can have a look at Camelot as a Christian stronghold. Camelot embodies Christian ideals with its emphasis on order, chivalry, and morality. It is depicted as a place of structured Christian values and governance. And the Green Knight represents paganism. His green skin and mysterious challenge link him to ancient nature, worship, and folklore, which brings a stark contrast to Camelot. And then we have the Green Chapel. The Green Chapel, where Gawain faces his final test, is depicted as dark and overgrown, resembling a place of ancient pagan rituals, rather than a Christian sanctuary. Moreover, something you can spot outside of the text, for pagans, the seasons were crucial in their spiritual and daily lives, more so than for Christians. So the cyclical nature of seasons influenced their rituals and beliefs, integrating nature into their worldview. Also, the magical girdle given to Gawain by the lady of the castle can represent pagan magic and protection, but also challenges Christian values of honesty and integrity. Gawain's acceptance and concealment of the girdle highlight the tension between these two belief systems, or religions. And finally, if we take a look at an excerpt from the text, you can see a longer stream of text, which represents paganism. And then in an orderly manner, you can see 4 verses, a structured intermezzo, which separates the long streams of text into basically different little subchapters. These 4 verses can be seen as the manifestation of Christianity within text, giving us a contrast against the unorderly and disorganized paganistic sentences. In the feminist interpretation of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, we examine how gender dynamics play a role in the story and explore the significance of female characters like Morgan Le Fay. Morgan Le Fay is the mastermind behind the Green Knight's challenge. She devises the plan to test the Knights of Camelot, including Sir Gawain, as part of a broader scheme to expose the vulnerabilities of Arthur's court. Morgan Le Fay's motivation is to create a situation that would humiliate King Arthur and his court. Her actions are driven by personal animosity and a desire to undermine Arthur's reign. And the Green Knight is not Morgan Le Fay, but is actually Sir Bertilac, Lord of the Castle, where Sir Gawain stays during his quest. Bertilac is enchanted by Morgan Le Fay to serve as the Green Knight. The Green Knight's challenge and subsequent tests of Gawain are part of this enchantment. Moreover, the lady of the castle who attempts to seduce Gawain isn't simply a temptress. She represents the medieval struggle to reconcile women's roles as both virtuous and dangerous. The lady's actions highlight how women's sexuality and their roles in temptation are portrayed in literature. Her interactions with Gawain bring forth discussions about power dynamics and female agency. While the text reflects medieval views on gender, Morgan Le Fay's role provides a counter-narrative presenting a woman with a significant power and influence. Her character challenges the traditional portrayal of women as passive and submissive. So, in a society dominated by male values, the lady's power lies in her ability to manipulate and challenge Gawain's loyalty and integrity by giving him the magical girdle. She plays a pivotal role in Gawain's eventual moral lapse. Her actions challenge the traditional roles of women in medieval literature, suggesting that they hold way more power and influence over males than you might actually think. And finally, at its core, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight explores the concepts of honor and shame. Gawain's failure to reveal the girdle represents a moment of personal shame, but it also raises larger questions about societal expectations. Even though Gawain feels he has failed in his duty, Camelot welcomes him back with a praise. The green sash becomes a symbol of honor, despite Gawain's personal sense of disgrace. This shows how society often values outward appearance and success, even when the individual feels internally conflicted or morally compromised. An instance of where this dynamic is evident in modern life is, for example, with war veterans. Upon returning to society, they often face a complex mixture of pride and personal turmoil. Like Gawain, they may grapple with feelings of shame or guilt about their actions during conflict. Society might celebrate their service and sacrifice, yet the veterans themselves may struggle with their internal conflicts and perceived failures, and some of them may actually even look down on society for celebrating something that should not be celebrated. The tension between public honor and private shame reflects the same struggle that Gawain faces in reconciling his actions with his personal sense of integrity. This contrast between public recognition and personal guilt highlights a universal truth about human experience. Society's external validation does not always align with individual internal feelings. The story of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight underscores the enduring complexity of honor, shame, and the often difficult journey toward reconciling personal values with societal expectations. So you can see that Gawain's journey represents a timeless struggle that resonates across eras and cultures. Whether we view it through the lens of psychology, religion, gender, or society, one thing remains clear. This is a story of personal growth, courage, and the pursuit of honor in an imperfect world. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the many layers of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. If you've made it this far, I'd love to know your thoughts. What interpretation resonated the most with you? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to check out my previous video if you've missed the full story. Until next time, stay curious, stay thoughtful, and keep exploring the deeper meanings behind the stories we all love.